Well, Brenton, it's come down to just you and me. Y'all ready to draw?
I am. I gotta say, though, that there are only two types of people in this world. Those who podcast and those who listen to podcasts.
What? This is 1860. What's a podcast?
It's gonna change the world. Woo!
Howdy there.
Woohoo! Welcome, one and all, to Classic Movie.
He says, twirling his cane. Welcome!
Welcome, I do say. Yeah, this is the show where me, that dude Brenton, and that other cowboy sitting over there on his steed, Nathan, we talk. Oh, shit.
Oh,
You
no.
nearly got me.
Shit.
We talk about films that are 20 years or older. 20 years. And we tell you, our lovely listeners, whether those films are worth recommending to your mates all this time now in the present. You know what I mean?
Yes. We'll let them know if, this is the day. Today is the day to watch a movie. Cancel your appointments. Today is the day to watch a movie.
But Nathan, it's not a Thursday. I thought part of our criteria was, would we put this on a Thursday night?
See, in hindsight, you think after 120 episodes, we should have twigged to release the show on a Thursday, considering Thursday night is our criteria.
Nah, fuck it.
No, but I think by putting it on a Monday, at least in Australia, it's smart, because that way it gives the listeners the week to prepare for what they're going to watch that Thursday, you know?
Yeah, good point, Nathan. Give yourself a pat on the back there, why don't you?
Look at us just bloody handling our release schedule well.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we
making
are.
some more Western references and Western jokes because we're not here to talk about spaghetti today, people. We're here to talk about another spaghetti Western
Aren't
in
we,
the
though?
Dollars trilogy or the Men with No Name trilogy.
I feel sorry for the listeners that don't like Westerns, who now for the past 3 weeks have had us chat about Westerns, but...
To be fair, again, we've done, this is episode 124, and up until, 121, we had not spoken about a single Western.
Save for Wild Wild West, of course.
Is that a Western?
It is a Western, by all means, it's a Western.
I feel like Wild Wild West is its own genre almost. You know what I mean?
It's not west. It's kind of sitting in the middle of the compass, just doesn't know where to go.
Exactly. Oh dear.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so today we're rounding out the Dollars trilogy or the Man with No Name trilogy with our review of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
More like the Nathan or the Brenton or again Brenton.
Wow, that was a really good one, Nathan.
Shut
First
up.
try. It was great. So, in case you didn't know, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was released in 1966 in Italy, and I didn't know this. So, I've been saying the released years.
They got released years after Italy.
What?
Yeah, wasn't it all delayed? They were huge in Italy. They got released years early, and then
No. Well, that was true for the first two movies.
Ooh.
They were released in Fistful of Dollars 28 months after its initial Italian release in the US. So there's a few years there. But what I didn't know was in the USA, so Fistful of Dollars was released 18th of January 1967. For a Few Dollars More was released in May 1967, and then The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was released on the 29th of December 1967. So these three movies came out in the US in the same year.
wow, yeah, because they were released I think in Italy 64 or something like that.
Totally.
yeah.
So there was a.
So I love that America's getting all three at once. They're just oh gosh.
That makes sense now. Why Clint Eastwood was just propelled into instant stardom.
He just had his really good year. You can see why the Wachowskis then wanted to repeat that success by doing 2 Matrix movies in the same year.
You can see that. Oh, you can see that
And
exactly.
now, where's Keanu Reeves now? Still Matrixing.
Again, here we are talking about another movie directed by this really talented kid.
Iconic director, Sergio Leone, that everyone should know.
I'd never heard of
It's
this.
not even a funny gag. It just upsets me.
Sergio? I think that's his name.
Shush,
Oh, God,
shut up.
what a-
I don't want to hear you disrespect this director anymore.
What a talent we've discovered here on Classic Movie Banter.
It'd be funny if in the picture you were Sergio Leone, you didn't even know who you were. Who am I?
Who am I? I'm just an enigma, hanging around.
You are an enigma. More like a spaghetti enigma.
Aren't I?
Ooh.
I'm like that spaghetti in the tin. You know what I mean? You're not even sure if it's real spaghetti. It's just such an enigma.
Oh, Christ. Let's get off this, Brenton. Can you please pitch me this movie? Can you pitch me the movie?
Alrighty, so step into my office, Nathan, because I've got an idea.
We're in Italy. Buongiorno.
Yeah,
Wait, do you reckon the Italians like pitch like a movie like around like a family dinner? Like they'll just invite the producers home.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. They definitely like talk about a pitch over dins.
Over some spaghetti. So we've already made these 2 killer movies.
Yes. They're so deadly.
With dollars in the title and Clint Eastwood walking about. No one knows his name. It's a real conundrum. And I'm thinking that we round it out with a third one. And I think what happens in this one is that, we kind of like the bounty hunter angle that we're going with the last film. But in this one, we meet the man with no name again, and he comes across this outlaw called Tuco that's fetching quite a low $2,000 price on his wanted posters. And he gets this game going basically where he goes into town, he collects the bounty, and then will free Tuco when they're about to hang him, and then they share the funds.
Oh, okay. So they kind of got a thing going on.
They got a thing going on. But in the meantime, there's this other guy known as what's his name? Angel Eyes. Angel Eyes. That's running rampant and is another bounty hunter, and he's true to his word. If you pay him, he's gonna finish the job no matter what. He's gonna kill that person. He's gonna kill that other person that the person he killed said to kill. And
So we got 3 murderers running about. What are they up to?
He discovers that this soldier, or I'm not sure what rank this guy is, but he's in the Confederate Army because the Civil War is happening in this movie.
Oh, just casually drop that like a bomb. By the way, we're in the Civil War, in case you hadn't noticed.
This soldier has $200,000. That's a lot of money back then.
That's a lot of money now.
What?
You've had $200,000 in the grave now. You'd be like, this is pretty good.
Don't you have a $200,000 note in your wallet?
Side note, say we see what the $200,000 looks like in this movie. Say maybe we find out what this money looks like. Do you reckon those bags actually did contain what looks like $200,000?
Yeah, I do.
I think they maybe looks like as if they had maybe 4,000.
I don't know. I disagree. I think there's definitely. I think if there were bags of gold coins in this movie,
Oh, okay.
that would look about right. If there was about a few.
So what you were
bags.
saying is that these bounty hunters want to collect the treasure from the Goonies.
No, not quite. Angel Eyes realizes that he wants to get in on this and he wants to get the money, and then it just so happens that there's some falling out between Tuco and Blondie, as he's known in this movie, the man with no name, and they all get wrapped up in this together. They're all gonna try and get this $200,000 that's buried in some place. Things become apparent, things become clear, and there's lots of people. These 3 guys are constantly crossing over each other, trying to stay on top.
3 parties of people all trying to find a treasure. Brenton, have we watched a National Treasure movie?
I wouldn't know because I haven't seen one.
Is one of these played by Nick Cage? Who would Nick Cage be, the good, the bad, or the ugly?
He'd be all 3 at various.
It's just him doing a Gollum performance the whole movie. Like he's just up against himself.
At various points in the film, he just change between them. So yeah, that's basically it. We're all just trying to find some buried treasure in the Wild West while the Civil War is going. And yeah, that's basically it. I don't know what else to really say in this pitch. Like, it doesn't sound that exciting.
I'm already sold. No.
It?
3 bounty hunters all competing to get a treasure. Mate, I'm sold.
Two bounty hunters and 1 bounty.
Oh, I hear you.
Nathan, what did you think of the good, bad, and the ugly?
You know what? It's so funny. I'm flashing back to 2 weeks ago when we did A Fistful of Dollars, and I'm like, Brenton, how can this trilogy get any better? Because we were pretty taken with like A Fistful of Dollars.
We were.
This is a fucking masterpiece of a movie, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Continue with your thoughts because I got things to say.
Like,
but
I liked A Few Dollars More even more. And then I'm sitting down to watch this. I'm like, how the fuck can this movie top that? And already in like the first 10 minutes, it already tops the previous 2 installments.
Speaking of the first 10 minutes, it takes 10 minutes and 34 seconds for a single line of dialogue to be said.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. This movie, like, oh man.
Isn't this fucking incredible?
It is incredible.
No, Brenton. Fucking incredible.
This is fucking incredible. As I said in our review for A Few Dollars More, that movie I felt like took Fistful of Dollars and it, like, as a sequel tends to do, like it ramped it up to 11, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took that and it did it even more so. This does that again. It takes a story that became more
Diego
epic.
Leone's like standing by a dial, just like pumping it even further.
It literally creates that, takes that formula and makes it into like an epic. This is like an epic story. This is 3 hours long, basically, and it's not just like a feud between a couple of towns, a couple of gangs, a gang that's trying to like rob a bank, whatever. This is like high level shit that involves like armies are involved in this.
Yeah.
The individuals are obviously the center.
They really Return of the King did, didn't they?
It really is. It's an epic. It's like it's so huge, this movie, and
There's a lot going on.
you can tell that this unknown director Sergio
Stop it.
really took what he'd learned in the first two films and then used these techniques again that he's like kind of mastered and just taking it to the biggest scale he could take it. So basically, what's amazing about this is that whilst I'm saying it's got that huge scale, the three pillars of the story, which are the three main characters, are still like very central to it, and it's still very like private in a way. He's got that juxtaposition going constantly between like the individual and the scope of like the whole conflict. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's reflected in his directing style, because like this is the one where he's like the most Yogo in this movie, where he's like, let's do extreme close-ups and then just landscape shots back and forth like nothing else.
Absolutely. So there's a lot going on in this movie, and like I like how you said masterpiece, because this movie, as I tried to pitch it, and I think I undersold it, and the reason I felt like I undersold it is that while that's a pretty simple premise, this movie tackles so many different themes. It has a lot to say about certain things, and more so than the other two do, I think.
Yeah.
When it comes to greed, when it comes to morality, you know what I mean? Like it's a really interesting look at these things, and I was really taken by this movie. Whilst like I said, it's 3 hours, but it did not feel that.
No, it's extremely well paced, and like there are moments where I think it drags. I'll talk a little bit later on, but I want to keep on talking about these themes that you brought up, because it's important. Because you and I we did our reading after this, Brent, and we put in our glasses, and we both read how Syogo said that he wanted to kind of parody the Western genre with this movie.
Yeah.
So in the 60s, he overemphasized the violence, and like he deconstructed, how great's the Old West. But like, here's the thing: in 2020, for me at least, it didn't feel like a parody. This felt like the exemplar Western. So it's like you forget sometimes now that like Westerns used to make like sell you on like, let's all go here and live this like cowboy life. But for me, this just feels like a Western doing exactly what a Western's supposed to do.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. But you can imagine at the time that this came out that it was pretty revolutionary in that sense.
Well,
like,
yeah.
It's almost parodying it by taking itself seriously.
And it's so funny because we've seen so many parodies of this particular movie since.
Yeah.
Everyone's being raised with this music, with these characters, all that kind of stuff. So like seeing the original, it's hard to feel nothing but respect for it and like admiration, because you understand how influential it is. So for me, I like, even though he intended to make this a parody, I didn't feel that at all.
No, I agree. I totally agree. In fact, yeah, when I was watching it, I was moved in certain areas. I was feeling things that I wasn't expecting to, like going into this. It just kind of elevates itself almost above the genre to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like it's like you said, it's a stellar masterpiece that is a standout from its genre. Like we attach the tag spaghetti western to this movie, but at the same time, it's so much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's way much more than that. And like he's trying to do a lot with this movie. In saying that, I want to bring in a criticism. I know I respect Syogo for going big, but to be honest with you, I didn't actually care for the Civil War stuff. I felt like for me personally, it kind of grinded the movie to a halt every time we kind of dip into the Civil War.
I see where you're coming from, because there's a certain section that I'd say that like I think I can guess where it is in the film.
Oh, it's a couple
pace
of
is
them.
dropping. No, you said before that there's moments where it drops, and there's one that I think that you will mention once we get into spoilers. And I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, there was something that happened in this movie that I'll talk about in spoilers that made it all worth it, in my opinion, if that makes sense. Because I agreed with you to a certain point, and there was a moment in this movie that like really it hit home as to like what all that was, what it was there for, and
I get the message, and I get with this movie he's like, oh, like fuck war, like boo, it's not good. Like, you know, like there's too much violence in this era. But like, I don't know, I feel like it wasn't as novel as the rest of the film. Like, yeah, we get it. We know war sucks. Like, we don't need to see the Civil War and have Clint Eastwood be like, man, war, how bloody, what a waste of life. Like, it felt unmoved. To be honest, because this feels a little bit like a video game. In the sense of like they're going from checkpoint to checkpoint, that kind of stuff. For me, I felt like the Civil War was just all the side quest shit. Like suddenly they stop at a checkpoint and some NPC is like, oh, look at this, we got a battle to do. Do you mind watching this? And it's just like, I want to get to the treasure. Like I feel like the main plot is the treasure hunt and the B plot is the Civil War shit.
Yeah, that's probably right. Like the main goal is the treasure. But again, without the Civil War stuff, you really wouldn't have the movie, because like
I think you would. I disagree.
Most of the conflict, I think, comes from that conflict and how individuals like have to weave their ways through it and like why they do that. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's important to have it there, and like I said, I think it really paid off.
But were you moved? Like, were you touched? Like when you saw like the acts of war, or like were you like Saving Private Ryaning it? Like
I was actually. You know what? I was moved. Like I know it's easy to say like, oh, like, you know, like I get what you're saying in the sense of like the message of like war is bad is one that we've obviously, you know, seen depicted in many different films. But this, I think, stands on its own. And I think, like, just taking out of the context that obviously at the time would have been a big deal to watch, you know, someone depict the Civil War in the way that this does. Like, I can't imagine many films that come out at that point that did that. But like I said, taking that aside, I think this has still got something to say. And I like how it informs. Not only does it have like a message that's maybe bigger than the movie and epic, like I said, epic in scale, but it informs the personal as well. Like, it's a really good balance he does with this, that like everything is kind of connected.
Yeah, it's connected. I get why he's doing it, and I like that he's sending this message. Like, it's nice, but like, I don't know, I feel like at the end of the day, you know, I'm kind of echoing what I said last week as well with A Few Dollars More. Like, I was there for the bank heist movie. Like, and for like, and like the aftermath of that, I kind of felt was an afterthought. Same thing here. I feel like I'm here to watch these three fuckers like just outwit each other and outmaneuver each other to get to this treasure. I do not care for the other soldiers that we meet along the way.
I think it would have been a lesser film if it had done it.
Definitely. And like, I'm sure a lot of people will grip onto that, but like, I don't know. I want to do a fan cut Reddit, Brenton. I want to just get out me scissors and just.
I feel like if that was the case, it would go for like an hour and a half.
I don't know if that'd be detrimental to the movie, like, because also, you know what, as well, because we have such A-list performances from the three main, like from the titular good, bad, and ugly men. When you meet other people, it's just. I'm just not as invested. I'm like, no, I want to spend more time with these guys, like the three of them. And it's funny as well because like their allegiances keep on changing, whereas like the Civil War's kind of consistent. So it's kind of funny seeing them in these traditional, like, you know, Confederacy versus Democrats or whatever the other one was called, compared to them. Like, it's such a two different, like, things they're juxtaposing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that. I love them, like, making their way, like, through that conflict and whatnot. How the landscape kind of changes as well as they, like, make their way through it and how they use that to their advantages.
Actually, tell me this, Brenton. Are you the kind of guy that completes side quests during a game, or will you wait to the end to go back to all the side quests?
I do it during the game.
Ah, okay. That's everything explained then. Because I don't touch any side quest during a video game ever until the end of it. So I think
that's so weird. Yeah. Right.
See, I find the comparative. See, I find the opposite weird as well, and I think that's probably what's going on here. I think this is just
okay. Well, in that case, let's make another video game comparison. I would say that this movie is more of a. It's not an Assassin's Creed. This movie, okay?
No.
This movie is not an Assassin's Creed in which you can just like mainline the main story and it's fine. Like, it doesn't affect it.
You think you need to do the side quest to be informed of the main plot?
The story itself, like, isn't affected by that, and you're better off probably if you want to experience the story of an Assassin's Creed game. Just do the main plot, like, because the pacing will be good. It'll make sense. This movie is The Witcher 3.
Oh Christ! Think about the bloody nerd glasses.
Here we go. Well, hey man, you brought it up.
This is a deep cut reference, by the way. Like, listeners, tweet in if you've ever seen a DVD art of The Witcher 3, let alone played it.
So The Witcher 3.
Here we go.
The side quests in that game, a lot of them inform the story without you realizing it. So like, if you miss out on a side quest in that game, you're actually kind of missing out a chunk of the main story. They all just kind of
See, now I want to play it just to test that.
Yeah, totally, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's worth playing in that sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's and both are good. Like, I like Assassin's Creed, I like The Witcher, but like, there's something about that is like bigger than the sum of its parts. It's just so epic, and there's so many things going on in it that, like, you know, it's just impressive to behold. But not only that, like, getting back to the point of the film, it's not that only because it's impressive that I'm bringing that up. I'm just saying that personally, it was moving to a certain extent, and like I said, I like how it informed the characters, and I really want to talk about a certain moment.
All right, we'll save it all for spoilers, and we'll continue that convo there. But for now, we're divided, listeners. Brenton says, keep the Civil War. I say, no more Civil War.
All right, well, let's try and find some common ground again then before we rate it.
Oh, easily. The most common thing we can agree on is that this has the best soundtrack out of all
exactly.
three.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, for sure.
Holy fuck! How did I not know the theme was from this movie?
I don't know how you didn't know that was from this movie. For sure.
I'm an idiot.
do do do.
Because I heard it, I just thought it was like a generic Western thing. I didn't actually know it came from a certain film.
Well, yeah, like I mean, like I always knew that song was from this movie, but like at the same time, Nathan, I like that it's like again an evolution of like the first two. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah. You still have like the deep like grunts and whatnot, though. Like during the song as well, like which I love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I love, like in the first two films, and to hear it like evolve into this, it's like let's keep the video game references going. It's like a good Pokemon. It's like Charizard, you know.
Brenton, we're alienating listeners with this. Enough. I'm putting a kibosh on this medium.
You know why I'm doing it, don't you? Because every time I do it, your face is just priceless.
I'm sure the listeners are going to get a lot out of that, just hearing the description of my face.
And just know that you started it. You started this monster.
Because in fairness, this kind of does, in the same way I said Chinatown feels like a video game. Like in the same way you just watch Jack Nicholson go from NPC to NPC. Like there are parallels here, like where you see like these three guys kind of jump back and forth. It reminds me a little bit of GTA 5 if we're going to keep this going, even though I just said stop. How you got these three main fuckers you just follow about and then eventually, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Yeah. But anyway, soundtrack.
Soundtrack is good.
It's great. It's so good. And also like it doesn't get old. Like it's basically the one tune the whole movie, but you just don't get sick of it. Like,
well, I think it's used sparingly as well to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
There's moments in this, like the opening of this movie, there's hardly any music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it channels it well.
When it kicks in, you know, it kicks in at the right moments. And there's some segments in this that are like quieter moments that are just the music informs us, you know, so much and make those moments even more epic than they would be if it was just the static shot. And speaking of the shots, the cinematography is great.
Oh, again,
that's probably the best it's been
insane.
out of all three movies.
It's beautiful. And also, like, the three performances, like, you know. And it's so funny because initially with the bad, forgive me, I'm going to call them good, bad, and ugly. The whole movie, I can't remember anyone's names. But with the bad guy, I thought it was the same character from the second movie because it's the same actor.
Yeah, for sure. I love that as well. I love the reuse of actors and like just different roles in the same universe.
Mad Max is very guilty of this.
Mad Max, yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I really like it. It's good seeing him as an antagonist. I think it works really well, actually.
Well, fun fact, that was the reason he was cast.
Oh.
So yeah, when he was casting the movie, the appeal of Lee Van Cleef as Angel Eyes, he was just basically really interested in Van Cleef playing this role because he played such a romantic character in For a Few Dollars More, and the idea of getting him to play a character that was just the complete opposite really appealed to him. So that's why he got cast.
That's why I'm saying the next Avengers villain should be played by Robert Downey Jr.
Absolutely. Why not?
It'd be great. And you know what's funny as well? I think with Clint, this is probably his best performance in all three.
Yeah, for sure.
Which you can see his character finally go through in my opinion, a tangible arc. Like,
yes.
Yeah, and he has motives and he is tested by morals. And I'm like, oh, finally. They'll wait till the third fucking film to bring this in. And more importantly, Brenton, he has the coolest costume out of all three in this one.
Really?
Oh yeah, man.
You think?
Especially, dude, his white coat at the start is so fucking badass.
See, I wasn't the biggest fan. I like the classic.
Whoa!
No, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it for reasons we'll get into, but I agree that he does go on a journey through this movie, and I can't wait to talk about it because one of the big moments of this movie.
Oh my god, we get it. There's a big moment coming up. Jeez.
Oh man. But for me, the person that gets the most screen time is actually the ugly.
Yeah.
And
he's great.
And to be honest, I thought out of the three protagonists, I would say that it's more his story in a way.
Yes. Yeah. I read somewhere an interview with Sergio how he said like he gave the most screen time with the ugly because he wanted the audience to understand him. Like he gets like a whole like supporting cast and like all that. Like I want to see more of him.
Well, the thing is as well, like I think writers and storytellers can sometimes get into the trap maybe of going, I've got these three characters and I need to have like give them equal weight. Whereas this knows when to use the characters and what the audience like needs to see of each of the characters and what the characters need to do and how they serve the story. And that's just like for me, that was just like something that was so cool about this movie is that we didn't necessarily focus on the other two as much. Not saying that they're not as important.
But we've had another two movies with Clint. Like we don't need it.
No, exactly. But though in saying that, like we still don't have many answers about Clint, which I like as well.
And you know what? Even though this film has virtually no women, I kind of like that this movie doesn't have a romance plot.
Yeah, it wouldn't have fit, would it? Maybe it would have, I don't know. But
I guess it's already long enough as is, but like
yeah,
I feel
exactly.
like, you know, the other two, that you're always finding like someone who's in love or something like that, or it's reminded about love. This one is kind of like, fuck all that, we're down to get business done. Like it just feels like the screenwriters especially just like didn't want any of that shit in. They're just like, let's get straight to the point.
Yeah, I feel like if you were to add a romance, it would have it would have muddled things as well, especially because in the scope of like a conflict such as the Civil War, to have like,
oh jeez, it turned into Baz Luhrmann's Australia, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great reference. Yeah, that made my point. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, Baz.
But in saying that, I'm ready to rate it.
Yeah,
if
I'm
you
ready
are.
to, dude.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
Brenton, Thursday night.
Oh, put this on. Like, you guys will have a nice night. Have some whiskey.
Or not, have some water. You don't have to drink to enjoy a movie. Unlike Brenton over here. Oh.
I've become such an alcoholic that I can't watch a movie without...
And this is your profession. Oh no, Brenton. I fueled this alcoholism. But more interestingly, yeah, obviously thumbs up for me too. But like, would you recommend watching this without seeing the other two?
I think you can. That's an interesting question.
Because yeah, I agree with you. I think you can do it, but I don't know if you should do it.
I don't know if you should do it either. This is a bigger question, and it comes down to like what if I think the trilogy is great or if it works as a trilogy, really. So do you want to rate that, and then we'll have that discussion?
Yeah, I agree. Because I also want to chat about if you can do it all in a weekend or if you should space out the trilogy. So
yeah,
let's put a bookmark on that.
Bookmark on that. But do you like this movie on its own merit?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and this works well.
Yep.
Great for Thursday nights. I think also even for like first Western, I think you could do this. Like if you're like, the Western genre ain't for me, it's like, no, watch this one. And just like, because especially with the opening titles, like with the tune immediately kicking in, it'll hook you no matter who you are.
It'll get you hyped.
All right, let's bloody spoil it. You spoiled it.
What?
The movie.
Oh. I don't know where to start, dude.
Oh,
If I'm
look
being
at you.
completely
The
honest,
whole
it's like...
fucking non-spoiler section, you're like, oh, I gotta spoil something. And then we finally get here and you're bloody slow to draw.
Do you want me to jump straight to that?
Yeah, get to the scene. You're
so
itching for it.
all right, let's talk.
Let's talk about the Civil War.
So I really have to be tactful with how I tackle this. So I was going to keep this as a special segment, but I'm going to talk about it now, and it involves the whole trilogy. We have to talk about the continuity of the trilogy and where the films are placed and what order they're actually in my opinion.
Oh,
right. So
you surprised me, Brenton. Go for it.
So The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a prequel. It is the first movie in the timeline of the three movies.
Okay. That's very interesting. I generally never thought about this. Keep going.
This takes place in the Civil War, and the other two take place after it. Which surprised me. Like, there was a point I was going, I thought it was set after the first two. Like, I just thought the continuity was the continuity.
Wait. Is this like fact, or is this like what you are thinking? Like,
no, this is fact. This is fact. I looked it up because I was sure in my head of like what the
Brenton like slides over some red string. Like, look.
So because when he appears and he's not in his costume at the start, I was like, that's weird. And I was like, oh, maybe it's because he got so rich with his cart full of dead bodies in the last movie. He's like, he's able to afford a nice coat and whatnot. No, Nathan, this is the first time we meet this guy, like in terms of the film.
But then if he gets the 100K, why would he continue his job?
Well, this is the thing.
Okay. Can I see if I can guess the rest? Because then his family got killed and like he lost everything, and that's why he has to get money afterwards?
No. I don't think so. Oh, it could be. Again, like this is so open-ended with the character and his motivations. Like it depends like on the events of like what you want to... I think it's open-ended so you can like infer what you want on this character. So that could be right. For me, it's not. Like I've got an idea of what Okay, so getting back to the continuity. So if this movie's first, we kind of learn why he becomes the way he is in the other two, in a way. Because at the start of the movie, he's morally, he's a pretty shit person. Like how he takes this scumbag into towns and gets the bounty.
And this is not the Clint from like a few dollars more who's like,
no,
yeah, even Fistful.
Exactly. We see his moral compass evolve in this movie. We see him become like the agent he kind of becomes in the other two.
Oh, okay.
So this whole movie, I was just sitting there. I was like, this character's different. I was like, this is really...
You pull the face mask off Clint Eastwood. Tom Cruise. What are you doing in the Wild West?
Well, because he starts a certain way at the beginning of this movie and he ends a certain way at the end of this movie. And I think this is why the Civil War thing is really important to have in this film, right? Because a lot of Clint his moral compass starts to improve as the movie goes on. And the moment that...
It's like Jack Sparrow's compass.
well, the moment that highlights that is when he like we go into that random tangent where the bridge gets blown up and whatnot, which is what I'm guessing is the bit that you think one of the moments the pacing is like, what the fuck's going on?
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, why?
The whole scene. You literally see them like get ambushed at one point and then like the camera pans and there's a whole fucking side area. You're almost waiting for the title of it just to appear at the top of the screen as like the characters walk in. Like,
totally. So we meet that colonel, I think it is.
Oh no, captain, because they get the title wrong.
Oh yeah, that's right, sorry. And he's all like, fuck man, like this whole bridge.
I'm an alcoholic, let's blow up some shit.
And he's like, this is so fucked, like basically we're just like sending men to die every day, yada yada yada, whatnot. And so like they take it upon themselves. He's like, all right, we'll do the job for you. And then he gets shot and there's a moment and then Clint gives him the bottle and he gives him a wink which is a great moment.
We watch a man have an orgasm over a bridge blowing up. I'm like, this is not the River Kwai. We don't need this.
I had some River Kwai flashbacks.
Alec Guinness is just running about. Don't blow it up.
What have I done?
Because Arcadis would have been around during this time. Like, he's just like... In fact,
Yeah.
this actually wouldn't have been set that far after the River Kwai. Because when did River Kwai come out? Like 60-something?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was the
Like,
60s.
both sets are next to each other, blowing up their own bridges. Like, oh, yeah.
Exactly. So they blow up the bridge, and the armies clear out, as was intended, and they cross, and they come across this church, this like blown up church, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And Clint goes in, and the whole time as well, because he hasn't had his costume, and it was really weird when Angel Eyes gave Clint his costume, like the underlayers, like
Yeah.
the vest and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then I was like, this must be the first one.
Oh.
That's when I was like, otherwise it's weird that he gave him the hat, and I was like,
And
there's
then
no
the most
bullet holes in the
cliche
hat.
scene is about to kick in where some coughing soldier's like, Ollie, and like, you know, bloody Clint Eastwood's leaning over him like, I'll give you my coat.
You know what? My brain went, this is cliched as well, like when it started.
Mm.
But Clint goes over the coat, and if you notice, the coat is like this. It's what he's been wearing for most of the movie. Like, it's this crappy coat that he was given. He kind of looks like such an outlaw when he has it's like an outlaw's coat, basically. It's like, he looks like a stock standard outlaw in this movie for most of it. And he gives the coat over. He gives the guy a couple puffs of his cigar, and he reaches behind him, and what does he whip out? He whips out the fucking poncho. He
Here we
finds
go.
the poncho in the church after, he helps that young soldier out, and he passes on, and he gets his poncho, and from that moment on I was like, oh, here he is.
Here he is. So then what do you think happened between this and then... So what's next? A fistful or more?
So more's next.
Oh, so it goes in reverse. That's interesting.
It's interesting because I was doing research. At first I thought I liked the ending of More to be like the ending of the continuity, that like he...
Yeah, because he gets the bodies and then rides into the sunset with them. Like, yeah. Because at the end of Dollars, he just like hands over the money, then fucks off. Like,
So I was like, I'm gonna check this before I come on the show so I don't sound like a total dickhead, because I was like, okay, so then it goes The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then it goes A Fistful of Dollars, and then it goes For a Few Dollars More. And then I researched it, and Nathan, one of our favorite scenes in For a Few Dollars More was the hat shooting scene, right?
Yes.
And remember I said last episode, I said, oh, I hope in the sequel that the bullet holes are still in the hat.
but they weren't.
They weren't. Guess which movie the bullet holes are still
Shut
in the
up.
hat?
Actually.
The first film.
Whoa. That's like Marvel level like planning. You know what I mean?
I know.
That's
And then I was
amazing.
sitting there and I was
Oh.
like, this makes me love this thing
Siago,
anymore.
what are you doing? And in the 60s, no less.
So this is the thing. And then I was like, because remember back in the first film, I was like, why is he doing this? Because he's obviously not doing it for the money by the end of the film. And then I was like, in the second film, he like gets all this money from those bodies, presumably. But what does he do with it? And then I was like, well, who knows what he does with it, in the sense of like, I don't think he does it because he needs the money. Again, he's obviously just like an agent of like goodwill, I guess. You know what I mean? And I don't know whether it comes from like some personal torture in his past or whatever, that he's just like wandering the desert
No,
forever.
and again, we don't need to know.
No, we don't need to know, because like you said, you kind of infer that onto it. But like, it just made me love this even more.
Yeah. Okay, that makes me really respect it. Okay, but in that sense then, would you recommend viewing order-wise to do it chronologically?
No, you got to view it in the order of release, because...
Because also they get worse then if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, watching this and realizing this, like, it makes me want to watch the whole thing again now. Or, like, watch it in, like, you know,
Yeah.
order. You know what I mean? Like, it just
Yeah.
got me hyped as fuck. I was like... and that's why he has such like a character growth during this movie, because he becomes the man with no name as this movie goes on.
There you go. I love it as well when like the captain says at one point, names don't matter. It's like you almost get like Siago just like saying that on set, just like Clint's like, can I have a name this movie? And Siago's like, no. Let's talk about some amazing stuff that's in this movie, because there's a lot that I think makes this easily the best. The opening scene. Let's start off with that. 'Cause,
Oh
like,
my goodness.
Jesus. Oh, it's so... A lot of me this episode is just going to be saying it's so good, but it is so good.
Yeah. The opening scene was the only part, like, those freeze frames with the good, the bad, and the ugly
Oh.
was the only thing I was like, they were the only moments I was like, this is kind of parodying it, you know what I mean?
But it's funny because like this would have been one of the first movies to do that like in a smart way, but now we've seen everyone else just copy it. So like
Totally, yeah.
we're so used to the freeze frame, but it works so well for this movie.
I love the opening scene, how we see... Oh, do you want to talk about the title credits?
Oh yeah, we're glad they're back, right? Like
Oh God, thank God they're back.
thank God thank God that they're back, and like they're easily the best of the three, and obviously it's that tune.
I still have a soft spot in my heart from A Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah, I do love that one.
Like
too.
and
They're
the
both
silhouette
good.
of
They're all
the
good.
black horse. But this one's cool because you have like the cannons and shit. Like that's fun.
Ooh, it's so good.
How good's that opening scene? Because we meet that one bounty hunter, the blonde kind of guy that then comes back later on in the movie.
Yeah, he's really, really good. And like, geez, like we see the kid die, we see like the dad die, and the mum's like holding over it. And like, what a way to introduce your villain! It's like he is, and when he does all this shit, and then it says like the bad next to him, like, oh, he is the bad, and you know immediately that like he's gonna like Siago's gonna save like the good for last, because then we're gonna
Yeah.
meet the ugly.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like morally as well, because like obviously I was going like, why is he the bad, and then why is he the ugly, and then how the hell is Clint the good when he's doing what he's doing at the start of this movie? But like I said, he becomes the good as the movie goes on.
I think the movie's about them achieving their mokias almost. Like
Yeah, exactly, Nathan. Exactly,
Yeah.
which I love. And God, is Tuco the ugly for
Oh my God.
sure?
You know what with
sure,
Tuco
man.
as well? I don't know why, but he reminds me a bit of Barbosa, like with his performance, like in that kind of like expressive face, and just like he's almost like parodying a stereotypical Mexican in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And the way that Barbosa's kind of parodying pirates.
Yeah, but what's interesting, and this is the same for both those characters, is that there's something a lot deeper going on underneath that's revealed. Like
Yeah.
the scene when he goes to the
Oh, that was my favorite scene where he meets his brother.
when he sees his brother. Yeah.
I was
Hell
surprised
yeah.
the movie went there. It was great. I thought it was just being an asshole just hanging around Clint Eastwood waiting for the name to be revealed. Oh, we'll talk about his tendency to give up names in a sec. But like, I love that like you see him like really have this moment with his brother, and like also Clint's awkwardly just eavesdropping in the background, like with the weirdest expression.
One of my that whole sequence though is like the end of that sequence for me is when they're then on the cart and he then makes this like fabrication up basically of how great his relationship is with his brother and how much he loves his brother, and it's really sad. Like it's a moment of just
Then also he tells Clint like he thinks Clint gives a shit when he clearly doesn't. It's like you almost killed Clint in the desert. It's like, why do you think this man has any empathy for you?
well, it's like he's almost saying that stuff about the brother because it's like what he tells himself. It's like the lie he tells himself to like get by with the shit that he obviously does, and he's like, dude, like,
and I love that how it's like, you know, you chose the easy path being a priest. Like there's a lot of like unsaid stuff there as well. That's really, like the performance, especially for a spaghetti western. Like kudos to like the ugly guy. Like
for sure. Like
that's
for
all
me,
through
like
performance.
He exactly. He's such a wonderful actor,
and he's delicious as well. Every scene he's in, you're just like, he's just a joy to watch.
Oh,
like he knows he's an ugly character and he kind of just runs with it. Like
he embraces it.
Yeah,
you know?
he knows that about himself. Like the man knows what he is, and I really respect that for him.
The moment that I thought he was the ugly and just a piece of shit human being was the bit where he was enacting his revenge on Clint Eastwood, and like he had him just dragging him through the desert and shit, and just like laughing at him, like putting his feet in the water.
I actually, to be honest with you, I actually paused it and grabbed a water like during that scene because I myself was getting dehydrated.
I did the same, man.
Hey!
Like I went and got a huge tall glass of water,
we're
and
just gulping, going, "Oh, jeez."
hey, man, what can you say? Like it's good
great
filmmaking.
makeup.
It makes
Like, they sold that like for Clint.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, man.
Also, love the premise. Like, of just pairing up Clint and the ugly, and they both have the key piece of info and they have to work together. Like, I love that. Like, it's just so simple but so effective.
And also, I just like that we follow Tuco so much in this movie. I love that, like, Clint goes away, basically. Like, he leaves him tied up in the desert, and he goes, you know, the town's that way, you can walk and... Oh, by the way, when we're just spending time with Tuco, because we spend so much time with him in this movie, the gun store scene when he goes and gets his new gun.
Yeah!
Oh, what a great moment.
This is a good scene.
Like, when he opens the clerk opens the door and he goes to put the close sign on, and he just, like, barges in anyway. Oh. And he's, like, he goes and looks at, like, the revolvers on the shitty wooden table, and then he just like knocks them all off, and then like the guy pulls out his guns from under the glass,
and he's like drinking the guy's whiskey as he's doing it.
Totally, and then he just builds his own gun like out of like three different revolvers.
It's so cool,
and he doesn't even get the holster or anything. He gets like he gets a bit of leather strap, and he like straps it to the bottom of the gun, and always has it around his neck. If you notice from then on, and he goes out the back. He does the target practice, and he's so good. Like he does the 6 shots, and then the cardboard doesn't fall, and then he jumps on the panels, and it falls.
The old guy's like kind of giving this like, oh come on mate, look, and he just does a little stomp. It's great,
so good.
But like seriously,
so
that
good.
scene where he just changes the gun parts is like the most like fanboy kind of like nerd I've ever felt. Just like watching him do that, because he's just so cool. I'm surprised like Star Wars has never done anything like that, where we watch someone build their own weapon in front of us. Like,
could you imagine in Solo a Star Wars story, and if there was a scene where Han like building his blaster, like oh.
It's so good though, and the poor old guy, like I mean, thankfully he makes it out okay, but like,
yeah, like, but he's all like, oh, how much? And then he's like, oh, that costs this much, and then he's like, no, how much are you giving me? And then he's like, oh, 50, and he's like, 100, or 200's all I have, and he's like, well, I'll be taking that, and then he like goes, I'll leave the whiskey. Like,
Yeah,
it's such
like
a-
that one nice act. It's like, oh wow, what a good guy. Probably was shit whiskey in the first place. That's probably why.
I also love that, like, and it shows like the character's motives as well. Like, he's like been stumbling through the desert. He goes and gets some water, rubs it on his face, and then he just goes buys a gun like straight away. That's
Yeah.
the first thing he does. Like,
It's so great, and I love it. And my other favorite scene with him that I literally shouted at the TV at was when he had to break his chain from the guy on the train.
oh yeah,
Oh, because he tries with a rock and like a gun and it's not working, and then he kind of like eyes the train rail and I'm like, no, you're not. I was like, no, and then like,
dude.
and then when the camera cuts and you can see just like the man on the train tracks and the train's about to come, I literally screamed, oh my god. I was like, no.
dude, how's the build up to that though? That like he like pretends to be taking a piss out the side of the train.
Yeah, I can't
He
do
just
it while you look.
launches off. So good, but yeah, and then it shows the shot of the body being dragged under the train.
Oh yeah. Oh, because I didn't know if it was. You know what? When he was lying on the train tracks, I immediately thought of Inception, where like Leo and Marion are just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're waiting for
lying
a
together.
train. It's like, oh, there's a little chain. But yeah, like when you see the body just rumple under, and you see it kind of like eventually flick off the side, I'm like, oh.
Oh man,
God.
death by train.
Because you
dude.
see, he's a large man, and the camera shows the train, and it's quite low. Like you know, it's not
Yeah.
going to work before the train comes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, there's so many good scenes in this.
It's funny as well because even the ugly doesn't know if it's gonna work. Like he's kind of just like hoping he doesn't get dragged along too.
He's just there and he's got the train across and he's just like, and then it's funny because he's there next to it and then he's like, I'm far back enough, I think, but I'm just gonna scuffle back a bit further. Like it's great.
He has so many great positions during this movie. I love it when they escape the bomb at the bridge and like Clint's hiding behind the thing, but then for some reason the ugly guy crouches with his ass up away from it.
Well, it's like because they like do a dive and he like kind of overshoots his dive and so he
Yeah.
like lands on the sandbag.
And he just stays frozen there.
Dude, the shockwave of that must have been hardcore because like
Jeez.
that's a
big
lot- I don't know.
explosion. Like
That's a big explosion.
because when
Yeah.
spoilers for the River Kwai, but when that bridge blew up, like it kind of happened like piece by piece. Like it wasn't just one big explosion. You kind of saw the bridge
Yeah.
come apart as it went. But for this, the whole fucker just goes in one hit, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, dude. It just goes.
Oh, and like there's bits of rock still flying at them afterwards. Like it's like, whoa. I love that
it's
the
full
guy's like that's his dying vision. Is like the man like Captain dies. He's like, yeah.
I love that too. I love he just hears it go and he looks over and he's like, oh, the bridge is gone. Fuck yeah.
Oh. But I do love that this movie like decided to have a whole arc based around that. Like, let's stop the little treasure hunt and have like a 30-minute segment where we just watch a guy get off to a bridge blowing up.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, let's just chuck that in the movie while we're here.
We haven't spoken much about the bat.
No, we haven't.
Because he's probably got the least screen time out of the three, but I think that's good. Like, I like that where he is in this movie. I like that when he pops up, he's always doing some devious shit. Like, it's like when he pops up and he's like worked his way into the army. Like, he's just like,
I'm like, how did you get here?
he's become like a sergeant or whatever, and you're like, whoa, what the hell's happening? And the way he like treats like the prisoners and he's like in charge of that, and how he like robs them, and he's got like a black market going basically like through that. Oh, dude, it's great. And then when Tuco comes in and he says he's the guy that he's looking for, and he knows straight away who Tuco is. He's just like, he's lying. He knows, and then he just comes in and he like gives him lunch, he gives him a nice meal.
I love it when he thinks it's poison, so the other guy has a feed as well. It's like, oh,
dude, I love the line as well when he's like, oh, would you like some music while you eat? And he's like, yeah, good for the digestion.
Yeah, and that one fiddler's just having none of it. Like, he knows what's happening, and he's just like...
Dude, that was a great scene as well, the torture scene. Like, having the juxtaposition of the torture happening and this brutal violence happening to Clint outside, and they're like, oh, well, you know what the music means. Which I kind of wish we didn't have that explained, because it was obvious the music was covering the sound of, like, what was going on anyway. But that was just a beautiful scene when, like, that sad song was playing. You could see the contempt from the prisoners of war who were playing the song, just being, like, knowing why they'd been called to play this. Like, it was a beautiful scene, I thought that.
It was, I found it probably more funny than beautiful personally, because I was just like, oh, you're an idiot for talking as well, ugly. Like, of course, like, you're gonna lose all your chips. And Clint's like, yeah, I'm not talking. I'm not a fucking idiot.
and I like that Angel Eyes just knows straight away. He's like, yeah, you're coming along, because like,
yeah,
I know you're not gonna talk.
This guy, like, yeah. I love how he's like, oh, same deal, but just new partner. I'm like, great.
But it's not, again, like, it's not the same deal, because then they're out camping and then he has all of his henchmen rock up.
Yeah.
morning. When holy shit!
Oh,
I was, just
was
like,
that a reference? So when like he says, "Oh, there's 6 of you," and then there's Clint. Was that a reference to the Magnificent Seven?
I'm not sure.
Because there were 6 bad guys, and then Clint. And I'm like, "Oh, there's 7 of you." And Clint's. You could always see Clint winking at the audience, going, "There's 7." Like, but yeah, no, it's great. Actually, my favorite line in this movie was when bloody Clint says, "God's not on our side because he hates idiots also."
Yeah.
And he's like the camera pan to the ugly guy, and he's like, "Ooh."
I love the use of the word idiots in this movie. Like when they come back and angelize God and he's left the note and he goes,
he can't even bloody read it.
he's trying to read it. And he goes, and he's like, see you later, idiots, I think it is, or something like that. And then Clint is holding it, and Clint holds it, then he gives it to him, he goes, "Oh, that's for you."
Just so Clint's funny in this movie. Clint has so many great
funny.
quips. Like,
it's great.
He's so
So
good.
good.
So what did you think then of like that final confrontation? Because we've had each movie finish with one, but I think this does it the best, right?
Oh, absolutely. This scene is so famous that
Yeah.
last. But it's also, again, it's the build up. It's from that church scene. Clint sets off the cannons, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At him
Which,
on
by
his
the way,
horse.
wouldn't work in real life. Like the timing of that's just insane.
Well, the fact that it didn't just hit him in the first place and he just wasn't like taken out, or he wasn't like grievously injured, like when the fucking cannonball like landed like a meter away
Or
from
he
his
happens
horse.
to just run in the path that the cannon's pointed at. Like,
Totally. But then he finds the grave, like Clint comes up to him and he holds up out the pistol and he's like, "Hey, keep digging." And then Angel Eyes pops up from behind Clint and is like, "Hey, keep digging." And then like Clint's like, "Hey man, that's not the right spot. That's just a grave." And they're all like, "Oh fuck." And he like goes, "I'm going to write it on the bottom of this rock," which was just badass. And then he just goes out into that
a perfectly arranged circle that no one would have built for this movie beforehand.
Precisely. And the three of them just go in there. And the twist of that as well, because I knew about the scene and how famous it was, and it deserves to be famous because it's such a moment.
Probably the best scene in the whole trilogy.
Oh, totally. Like I'm sitting there just going, I know Clint's going to be okay because this is a prequel, but
even as a sequel, you know they're not going to kill him at the end. I wasn't worried for him.
No, not at all. But you still like want to see what happens because I did care about these other two to a certain extent as well. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
kind of didn't want them to die either. I kind of just wanted them to be arrested.
no, because the three of them are all like pieces of shit. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like morally, they're all very questionable. Some more so than others. And so yeah, Angel Eyes just gets taken out straight away. And I love the callback to the hat shooting with that character as well. When he like shoots the hat and it goes on in the grave after him.
That was so good.
But I love the twist as well that he had unloaded Tuco's revolver the night before.
Yeah, that was really smart. God, Clint's a genius. Like,
because I was going the whole time when he tells him, when they're blowing up the bridge, when he tells him the name of the thing, I was like, I know that's not the real name.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's not, this guy could easily just turn around and shoot you now. Like, you know what I mean? And so he knew that was a fact and took the bullets out, which I just thought was great. And then, yeah, he leaves him hanging on that cross, teetering on the edge with his half of the ship.
Blondie!
Great last line of the movie as well.
Yeah, that was really, really good. It's just screaming at Clint as he's running away with the little bags of money.
And he goes to say bitch and like
and then it freezes.
Yeah, totally. It's great. And then but like I like it as well that Clint leaves him his share of the cash. Like he's there tied up or whatever, but he's still...
But then again, like, have you seen Better Call Saul? You up to date?
No. I've only seen the first season of Better Call Saul.
There's in the latter seasons, it's not really a spoiler. You watch Saul literally drag money through a desert.
Yeah, right.
And so I was getting called back to that. I'm trying to imagine the logistics of him carrying $100,000 worth of coins through a desert.
Also, any passerby, whether it's another outlaw, whether it's like, you know, the law, or if it's one of the armies, like they're going to question and be like, how the fuck do you get this money?
Yeah.
And he's going to lose it anyway. Like, you know what I mean?
There's no scenario where he keeps the cash, so...
But it's nice to know that he's still out there.
Yeah, I do. Like, what do you reckon he does after this movie? Do you reckon he just goes to jail, or?
I'm not sure. I don't think he ever goes back to his brother.
Maybe he has society come to him. Maybe he just buries his money bags and just like hires people to rebuild the church, and he just like starts his own little community since he can't leave.
Yeah, I don't know. He's an interesting character.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not smart enough to start his own like community though. You know what I mean? I feel like he's not, and he's certainly not trustworthy enough.
No.
Like people just...
I'd like to think he'd send the money to the monastery to his brother or something, but like I don't know how he'd do it.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But he's still out there. He's still doing something.
He's still out there being the ugly guy. So special segments?
Special segment.
Ooh, so special. Now, Brenton, this whole trilogy, we've avoided talking about the animals. So I'm bringing in the segment, We Love Animals.
Nathan, we haven't done this segment in a while.
No.
It's been a little while since we've done this
Been
one.
a little while. But tell you what, I don't think it's a standout horse, but I do just want to give like a round of applause for the horses of these 3 movies.
The horses are out of this world, especially in this one as well, because like we see so many war scenes and we see all these horses running around and whatnot. There is horse carnage in this film as well.
There is.
Horses go down.
Yeah, remember when I
also
complained in like A Fistful of Dollars and like, how did the horses not get hit? I feel like
Totally.
Diogo Herman is like, oh, they're going to get hit in this one.
Totally. And I think a few got hit in, for a few dollars more as well.
Yeah, there's more and
there
more.
was some horse carnage and he was just like, Nathan, he's like, he predicted the future. He was like, there's going to be this asshole on this podcast named Nathan, and he's going to give me shit because I didn't kill all the horses in the Gatling gun scene. So I'm just going to like progressively add more and more horse carnage.
And here we go. And like the horses are doing a great job as well, especially that scene where the ugly is escaping capture and Clint is riding past him on the horse, and the ugly manages to get on the moving horse as they're riding.
Yeah.
The choreography, including animals, is outstanding.
It's incredible. Yeah.
But for you personally, was there a standout animal in this?
There's a few. So the horses, definitely. There was also noteworthy in the opening scene. There was a dog that ran past in that town.
For one fucking scene, like.
But what nearly stilled this movie for me was actually there's a kitten in Clint Eastwood's hat. So they're hanging out in some bombed building, right? The Men with No Name, along with Angel Eye's gang, and he's in there, and it just goes to this shot where we're hanging out with Tuco, and it goes to this shot, and he's just holding his hat, and there's this kitten in front of Clint Eastwood's face, like that's just like sitting in his hat, and he's just there like petting it. And he just takes it out, puts it on the ground, puts his hat on, and off he goes. I'd say if I had to choose an animal from this film specifically, the kitten's going to steal it. What would happen to that kitten?
Maybe, I don't even know where it came from in the first place. Like, maybe it was just like, it would be cool if they had it like come through all 3 parts of the trilogy. Like, you see just like the kitten just like slowly grow into like a cat and then like an old lion or something.
An old lion. I love it. Nathan, which 2 characters should have kissed in this movie?
Okay. So there's a scene where the ugly guy the ugly guy has Clint Eastwood going through the desert, and like he realizes Clint's useful, and so he's like, "Feck, I got to get him some water now." And they're like, and he leans in, and they're millimeters apart, and I'm like, is this gonna end in a kiss? Like, I'm like, are we gonna get a kiss between the good and the ugly? And I'm like, I kind of want it. I ship this.
I do too. The moment I thought, because I agree that those 2 characters are the characters that should kiss. Later on, when he takes him to his brother's mission, it's the scene where Clint Eastwood splashes the coffee in his face.
Oh yeah.
And he's
and
he's like chapped lips. He's like, "You gotta survive. Do you want some coffee? I'll put it on your lips. Oh. Do you want my lips on your lips?"
Oh my god. This could have segued into a romantic plot, just like neck minute, like
it could have.
That would be great. Just like at the Mexican standoff at the end, they channel Revenge of the Sith. He's like, "You were my brother, Anakin." Just like as they got the guns pointed at each other.
I loved you.
And he's just like, "It's over now. I have the same level ground," and they just start shooting off.
Well, maybe that's the answer with this character, the Man with No Name. We say that he's got baggage. Maybe it's that it's Tuco's his long lost lover.
Jeez. I bet there's fan fiction out there somewhere.
You know what? We could even do the special segment,
fan fiction.
Fan fiction, like fan fiction or, and let's not get into that.
No, we don't need that shit on this podcast. Nah.
We've had enough.
We know it's there. That's all we need, frankly. Maybe we could research in future some titles of fan fiction that are out there.
Fan theories, maybe?
Well, you just came with your own fan theory before. Well, it's not really fan theory if I confirmed it, but like.
Yeah, good times.
Okay, what if this
times.
movie ended with like suddenly Dolores from Westworld rocking up? Like this is all just part of the theme park.
What?
Anthony Hopkins just rocks up.
Why not?
There's probably a fan edit out there of like, Anthony Hopkins like standing on a hill or something and just like they stitch in Clint or something.
Yeah, totally. And then like the DeLorean just like rocks up and it's like Back to the Future Part 3.
That'd be great. Just a whole Western mashup. Like
the train that's going like on the tracks the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out like Doc Martin's like driving that train that runs over the guy, and like Marty McFly puts his head out like, "Did we hit something, Grandpa?" And he's like, "Shut up." He's like, "I don't think we did."
Too good. Too good.
What steals this movie?
Ooh, it's blinding. Guys, what steals this movie is a segment on the show where either Nathan or myself, we choose a single still from the movie we're reviewing. And we choose this on the basis of whether it's funny, whether it's a good piece of cinematography, or if it's something that's just worth talking about.
Which one is this one, Brenton? We need to talk about this. There's a scene. I'm not even going to set it up. Look, at one point in the movie, the ugly takes a bath. Like, because he needs to wash his wounds. And like, there's some old fucker that eventually comes in here to get revenge. And like, thinks he can shoot the ugly guy, but turns out he's got the gun underneath the bath. But this movie dedicates a frame to him just like enjoying himself in this little tub. It's got so many fucking bubbles because he pours all of the powder in. And he's kind of just like licking his hand with his tongue extended as much as he can, like a cat would lick its fur.
Yeah, he's like licking his rings. It's bizarre.
It's so weird. And it's also such a weird tub. It reminds me of the still for Wuthering Heights where we saw her in the tiny tub.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's the same kind of bathtub that just looks so uncomfortably small to actually enjoy a bath in. But he's just still enjoying the fact he's not getting shot.
I'd imagine the water like isn't warm as well, you know? Like
This is
it's
not
quite
a good bath. But maybe because the desert's hot, maybe they'll keep the water warm.
true. Nathan, what I loved about this scene, and you mentioned it before as well, was when the guy comes in to enact revenge. And it's the guy from the start of the movie.
Yeah.
That he gets the close up. But he's missing an arm as well, because I was like, wait, hang on a second, why isn't he dead? And he comes in, he's got one arm. And it was the most random thing, because I was like, how is he gonna get out of this situation? And when the gunshot went off and like his gun came out of the bubbles in the bath, I laughed my ass off. It was so funny. Like it was hilarious. And then the way he like leans over the cubicle walls, like basically, and he shoots him again, and he's like, if you're gonna shoot. Like,
Yeah.
he has that
because the
great
guy
line,
like
you know?
starts to monologue like a classic villain, and then he's just like, nah, fuck that, and just shoots him down.
Totally. He's like, I've been practicing shooting with my left hand because you took my right one.
It's so great.
And he just sits there looking at him from the bath, and he has this like dumbfounded expression, and then he just like the gun just appears, and it's so funny. It's so funny.
It's so great. And I love what immediately follows it as well when like Clint confronts him. And he's just like stands there naked. And Clint's like, ugh. He's like, you're coming with me, but also put on some clothes.
That's a hell of a scene when they team back up to take down that gang as well.
Oh, it's so good. That's like the most video gamey part of it, where you can see almost like
Totally.
Yeah. Oh hey.
Well, hey.
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 Hey,
Oh,
hey.
Hello.
Ooh.
Hello. Let's look at this film's poster.
Banter.
Yes.
Let's look at this film's poster.
But is it art? Throughout this trilogy, we've had some pretty damn good
We've had
posters,
some
I'd
great
say.
posters, mate. All in Italian as well. This one included. Links all below, listeners.
This one keeps it pretty simple, but I like it. I still like it, man. I think it's a good looking poster.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of like baseball cards a little bit. You kind of just got like the
Yeah.
like the three of them just kind of lined up with this little black background, and then it has like underneath them the titles, the good, the bad, the ugly for each character. Like I love the way they're painted in that old kind of way. Like fuck, Clint looks so cool with his poncho.
He fucking does, doesn't he? I was about to say who's the coolest looking character,
it's
because I think
Clint.
they all look cool, but it's Clint, man, with that poncho when he just flips it over his shoulder, like it's so
But
cool.
I also kind of like that the ugly is wearing a tie and the other ones aren't. Like he's kind of like wearing a suit-esque.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the bad's got the coolest hat.
Yeah, agreed.
Actually, this is a random thing to talk about in the poster section, but who would you cast as these three today?
Oh, sure, let's do it. Okay.
I feel like J.K. Simmons would be the bad well. Like a young J.K. Simmons.
Even him now, sure.
Yeah, even
Like,
now
I
he
can
could
see that.
play the bad quite well.
I think he could pull it off. Who's the ugly? That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm just like,
Oh, I feel like I actually want to cast like a Latin actor, like a Mexican actor.
me too.
This is a deep cut. Do you know on Jimmy Kimmel he has Guillermo, his right hand man?
I do.
I think
I
he would
do
be
know.
good actually as the ugly. I think he'd do really well.
I think he'd do really well as well, because I think this wonderful actor does a great job in this film, and like in my opinion should have been nominated for awards and whatnot.
Yeah, same.
And if Guillermo could like get it down pat, and you could get I think you could get a really good performance out of him, and then you could have Guillermo at the Oscars when he's nominated.
Oh yeah, because normally Guillermo does those red carpet videos and they're funny and they're great.
And he has like the little thing of
Yeah,
tequila.
it's like tequila. Like every celebrity's like, woo!
And they have a sip and they're like, oh shit, it's raw tequila. And he's like, ah.
They're so great as well. Because he's done it over the years, there's some celebrities who actually now remember this. So they'll like
Yeah,
now seek
totally.
him out for the tequila. Like it's great.
It's great. It's so funny.
So he would be a great ugly. Who would be the good though? Like would you get like a Chris Pratt kind of guy, or would you like cast
Chris Pratt crossed my mind, but I don't know if he's right. After watching him in
Magnificent Seven?
Magnificent Seven,
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite right.
What about Scott Eastwood, like Clint Eastwood's son? That's like, you know, in his 20s or 30s still.
Interesting. I need to look him up to have
Oh, he looks identical to Clint. Look up Scott Eastwood.
I'm gonna look him up.
He was in the
right now.
iconic film Pacific Rim Uprising, and you know, he's available.
He's available. Scott Eastwood. Oh wow, he does look like him.
Yeah,
Jeez.
he's like modern day Clint. Like
I'm still not sold completely. I think someone new. I think this is going to sound really random.
me. No, Brenton.
No, fuck off. No fucking way. There was a lot of Batman comparisons made last episode.
Oh, you reckon Robert?
I'm thinking Ben. No, I'm not. No, I'm thinking Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian could pull it off. I don't think he's done a Western. Oh, he did. Did he do Cowboys and Aliens? Was that him?
No, he did. That was Daniel Craig.
Thank you, yeah.
He did a Western a couple years back.
Yeah, what was it?
He was gunning for the Oscars. I haven't seen it. I can't remember what it was called. But it was him and like Timothy Chalamet were in this movie. And it was really artsy. And it was really dark, apparently.
Was it the Western version of The Lighthouse, essentially?
No, apparently it was just like, it was really dark. It was just like, it would involve that it was like this ex-Confederate soldier was like, I think taking...
Oh yeah, I do know this movie. I have heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Christian like critically acclaimed in it?
I think, his performance was acclaimed in it.
There you go. I think we found our three, Brenton.
Christian Bale, Guillermo, and J.K. Simmons.
Christ, that's fan casting if I ever heard it.
That's a hell of a cast.
There you go. Title talk.
Ooh, it's the title. Now this is interesting, isn't it? Title talk.
This is something I really want to get into. Oh, well, first up, Good, Bad, and Ugly, one of the best titles ever made, right? Like, yeah,
absolutely.
Like, one of the most perfect titles ever.
Absolutely.
The better question is, was the good, was the bad, and was the ugly? Should we go through all three?
Yes. I think the most questionable on that list is actually Clint as the good. I think he is not that good in this movie. But I think if you take it, like you said, that they all become like their title as the movie goes on, I think it works.
I think this is the few instances where I've seen a title of a movie also outline the character arcs. I can't think I've ever seen that before, which is genius.
Yeah, it's pretty special, isn't it?
It's great. Like, yeah, the bad is definitely the bad from the get-go. I would contend that the ugly actually isn't that ugly. Like, he's not a bad-looking bloke.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it's in relation to his physical appearance. The same with the other two. Like, I think it's
They should have called it the good, the bad, and the beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I think he is the ugly in a sense because I think he
is the most like, but he's not like the most morally questionable. Like, he doesn't have like morally ugly decisions. Like,
I'd say he does. I think he's the most likely to double cross, and I think he's the person that is he's got no ties. He's got nothing that kind of, like, we understand this character because I think if Sergio, like you said, didn't take the time to make people understand him, we wouldn't understand why. And we just saw him as the black and white character that could have been like the stereotypical character that could have been painted here. He would without a doubt be the ugly. I think that the reason you don't go, oh, he's not the ugly, is because the movie humanizes him. But his actions are still pretty bad, dude. The fact that he's like he's so malicious in what he does. Like he takes so much enjoyment from like seeing people suffer. It's like when he's dragging Clint through that desert and he's like laughing as he does it. You know what I mean? Or like the way that he goes to hang him before the bomb takes out that hotel or whatever, and Clint gets away. Like it's pretty fucked up. Or he sends like those three guys in to die before him and then sneaks around the back. Like he's a pretty conniving,
he is pretty ugly
person.
I guess I'm happy with it. Like, especially because like the film gives them their titles at the start and at the end. Like, I think that reaffirms that they are these people.
Oh god, when they did it at the end, I loved it.
It's funny because it's like pans to like Clint and Ugly, and like they're both like alive and has their names. But then like for the bad titles, just him dead in the grave. Like,
I know.
Oh, it's great.
But going back to the title itself, in the trilogy, it's the only one that doesn't have the word dollars in it.
And it's better for it because it's the best title.
I agree. And I think it works again because if you take it in like the continuity of like the story, it makes sense that the dollar isn't in the title because it's not about that. It's about like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Although in saying that, I think you know why. If you look at these three with like a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more and then this third one, there is more money involved. This is the one with the most money. So I think what really stumped them is that they did a few dollars more. Then they're like, fuck, do we call this the most dollars? like we've hit the ceiling. Like
all the dollars.
That'd be great. All the dollars.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
great title, obviously.
Let's pass it.
Pass it to the people.
Pass it here.
What?
The power to the people.
So when we look at the tomato meter, you'll notice that this film has a critical consensus of 97% with an audience score which is exactly the same. 97%.
I love these consensus episodes when audiences and critics alike, they're all throwing their roses, Brenton.
We're all in the same boat.
Look at that bank as well, dude.
Mate, that's pretty good. 1.2 million to make and 25.1 million in North America, which isn't even taking into account where the film was originally released in Italy, which I can imagine these films were pretty popular. So I'm sure that it made plenty of money.
They're like throwing like roses at the screen. They're just like throwing meatballs or something.
Yeah, maybe that's why they removed the dollar from the title as well, because they were like, this movie isn't all the dollars. It's like they made all the dollars from making this movie.
You can see that's like the American magazines just like for their headlines, like this movie makes all the dollars. So,
well, Asher Liberto from LA Weekly gave it a positive spin and said, when Ennio Morricone's score kicks in and Leone's editing picks up, our everyday problems fade away like a cowboy riding off into the sunset. What a sentence that is.
And here's the thing though, I'm curious your opinion on this. Do you think the movie would work as well without that score? So say the score was like just like
No.
the same other score. I think the score actually does a lot of the work.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like the Halloween situation of like Halloween, the film isn't that scary without its score.
Yeah.
Informing a few different things because the score's doing a lot of the work. The score is
really
informing
is.
a lot of the informing a lot of the characters and informing a lot of the intention behind things. Like I agree. I think it does a lot of the work.
Yeah. Jim B, he gave this half a star, Brenton. And he wrote, a waste of 3 hours, moved at a snail's pace, pointless movie, just terribly overrated. Every single thing took forever to happen, and most of all, there is no real message to this. No moral, no nothing, just a damn waste of time.
Wow, Jim B, crazy.
I mean, I agree with him that you could cut this down. I think it could be done.
Probably. But, well, here's another fun fact. There's different versions of the film. So when it was released in North America, I think 20 minutes is taken off or something like that.
Yeah, because the one we both watched at the end of it, extended edition, didn't it?
Well, that's it. The one we watched was how the film was released in Italy, right? Which was like 3 hours. And then
We do it like the Italians.
Yes, we do. Buongiorno. But yeah, when it was released in North America, it was much shorter. It'd be interesting to watch that version as well and compare and contrast. See what they took out.
Yeah, there are a lot of deleted scenes here, so I'm very curious.
Well, Johnny Dre, great name, says, remember my old man asking me, do you want to be a real man when you're older? To which I replied, yes. He said, sit down and don't move for the next 3 hours of epicness.
We got 83 likes on YouTube. I love it. I kind of wish I did watch this with my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that's what I was going to bring up. Like I remember, I don't know if you did this as a kid, but I used to watch like old movies with my great-grandparents actually. And it was such a family thing of like just watching some of these old westerns and old movies. And like the other day my nan had an old western on and I was like, "Oh, who's the star in this one?"
And she's like, "You." And she shoves you towards the television.
Reenact it now. she has like a Wild West revolver and starts shooting at my like feet and I'm like
Nan, no, not again.
Love you, Nan. No, but like it's spaghetti westerns feel like family time. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is about it. There's something about those old movies that just gets you. I think movie musicals are kind of the same. Like that 50s style movie musical was like people come together for some reason and watch these movies.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
It's a good
very
time.
nice.
This is what we'll watch as our new Christmas movie. Fuck, It's a Wonderful Life. We'll watch Good, Bad, and Ugly. Now there's a Christmas movie. Teja wrote on YouTube, Tarantino said it right. The greatest achievement in the history of cinema. It's up there, isn't it?
Probably is.
I mean, it defined a genre.
I'm just trying to think of like movies that really have defined. Yeah, like it does. It's up there.
Yeah, it's definitely the peak of its genre. You know, like
You think of like movies like Citizen Kane. You think about movies like The Wizard of Oz, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is up there. I think this is like something that had a profound effect on the industry.
It's funny. I don't feel the way I felt after like Sunset Boulevard or Apartment or like Network. It's like a different feeling. Like
yeah, I agree.
Like
yeah.
it's still a masterpiece and still of that caliber, but it does something very differently. And I'm not moved because of how intelligent or profound it is. I'm just moved by how well made it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. J.A. finally says, when you aren't good or bad, you're just ugly. With like a they've added like a sad face emoji of just like distress.
Which one are you, Brenton? Are you the good, the bad, or the ugly?
We all know which one I am.
Wait a minute. If you're good and I'm bad, who's ugly? Actually, no. We know the real answer, don't we, Brenton?
We do.
You're the bad, I'm the ugly, and our listeners are the good.
Oh, what a good segue.
Because that was good, bad, and ugly, wasn't it?
That was the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Nathan's right. You guys are definitely the good on this show. Thank you so
Always.
much for tuning in and having a listen to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. All I have to say really is keep the conversation going. Let us know what movies you'd like us to review next because we love to hear your suggestions.
Yeah.
And tell us what you thought of the movie. Get on the Instagram, comment on some things, send us an email, or just go to the YouTube comments. We're always on there as well. Yeah, let us know. So we can.
We're chewing through our list. So as each week passes, we love the new suggestions, and it just grows the list longer and longer. So we do it. We put everything on. So it's coming up.
Let me tell you, it's goddamn chewy. You know, I'm just trying to gnaw through it at the moment. I can't get through this bloody list.
Brenton,
you know what I'm
stop
saying?
eating my laptop. We need this for the podcast.
Oh, sorry. Let me just remove the. Oh, yeah. All right, all good. Sorry about that,
You have
guys.
so ruined the tension in our Mexican standoff, Brenton, by gnawing on my laptop.
Well, shall we just start again then?
Nah, fuck this.
You shot me in my right arm.
No, that was ugly.